Okay, this last section starts with letters of recommendation. You'll be asked throughout your life probably to write letters of recommendation, and I certainly as a faculty member have been asked on various occasions for that. It's not like it used to be where you would write somebody like a reference letter or a recommendation letter in general, and then they would carry that wherever they went. These days, because of word processing and such, it's a lot easier to tailor a letter of recommendation. So if in fact a student is applying to a particular university and needs a letter of recommendation, you would want to address it to the admissions department or office of admissions for that university or the graduate program if they're applying for that. If it's for a particular job, you would want to address it to address it to the HR department or whoever is gathering information and applications for that particular company, and of course to tailor the recommendation for the job that the person is applying for, the person you're recommending. In the opening, you want to name the candidate and the position that's sought. To say, I'm pleased to recommend so and so for an internship in accounting with your company, that sort of thing. State that your remarks are confidential. Describe your relationship with the candidate. They almost always, that is, any prospective employer, will want to know the nature of the relationship that you have. For instance, they might want to know that this student, this person I'm recommending, was a student in some of my classes, and describe the relationship. They'll want to know that. They'll also want to know typically how long you've known the person. It just means a whole lot more, obviously, if you've known a student for 2 years versus, 1 semester. In the body, describe the applicant's performance and potential. Strive to include statements about communication skills, organizational skills, soft skills, people skills, ability to work with a team, independence of thought, work ethic, and those kind of things. For the most part, you want to be as specific as you can. For instance, they may well want you to give specific instances of, for instance, you say a student works well in a team. Well, where did you observe that person? If you give all multiple choice tests, for instance, you don't have much opportunity to observe a student's writing ability. If the student's work is independent in a particular class, you may not be able to observe any team skills or teamwork. So if you can give specifics about, rather than just say so-and-so has a strong work ethic, if you know that student works 2 part-time jobs and still is in class and awake, and has their work done, that says a whole lot more than just using a blanket term like solid work ethic. Include definite task-related descriptions. That's kind of what I was talking about there. Include negative statements only if they are objective and supported by the facts. Some years ago I had a student at Pepperdine University, and I detected that he and another student had really copied or worked on turned it in as their own. They were supposed to work independently, and they turned in separate documents that were really identical down to punctuation mistakes, excessive spaces between lines, misspellings, that kind of thing. So I called them both in and gave them zeros on that project because I made it very clear they were to work independently. And one of the students she just never admitted that she did anything wrong. She was from Monaco, and I think the family had a lot of money, and she had gotten used to getting her way. This other student actually was from Germany, and his name was Nico. And actually, he and I did, this all worked out really well. I confronted him about this, and he explained how it happened, apologized. I think he was genuinely apologetic for it. And later on, he was applying for the MBA program at Pepperdine University, and he came to me and asked for a letter of reference. And I said, well, Nico, I said, I think a lot of you, you've done well in my class, I said, but I said, one of the reasons I know you as well as I do because of this cheating instance that took place. And so I really will have to mention that. It might be better if you find someone else, another professor who doesn't kind of have that, didn't have that kind of relationship or that kind of knowledge, about an event like that. He said, well, he said, you're the only professor who knows me. So that's kind of a sad commentary when the only professor that knows you because there was a, let's say, a academic fraud instance that you both went through. But I went ahead and wrote him a letter of reference to the Pepperdine MBA program and mentioned, that this. But I said, as I told Nico, I said, I think you really came through this. You admitted it. You came through it well. And I felt like we were, certainly I felt a great deal of respect and appreciation from him. And we stayed relatively close the remaining year or two that he was there. So it says include negative statements only if they are objective and supported by facts. In other words, you don't want to read into or talk about hearsay or mention things that you heard. In this case, I had a specific event that was first person knowledge to me, and but as it turned out, like I said, he got in the MBA program. So I think maybe the fact that he handled that well and bounced back from it was a credit to his character and his maturity. In the conclusion, if supportive, summarize a candidate's best points, offer ranking of candidates if you can. Very often you might find that they would like to know whether the student was in the top 5%, 10% of students, not so much in a class necessarily, but of students that you have known. How would you rank this student in, top 5%, top 10, top 20% of students that you have known in this particular discipline? Offer to supply additional information if needed. Okay, so there's letters of recommendation. The 5 S's of goodwill messages. Goodwill messages are where you're sending notes of thanks, congratulations, or sympathy. Selfless, specific, sincere. Emphasize the receiver, not the sender. You got this information. Maybe somebody had a death in the family. Maybe they got a promotion or received an award of some kind, a recognition in their field, or maybe they did something for you. Maybe, in fact, you've had a professor that gave you a recommendation and wrote you a particularly good reference letter, and you got the internship or the job, and you just simply want to say thanks. So the 3 S's, and now 2 more: spontaneous and short. I think these are all pretty much sensible. And the very last part here, answering congratulatory messages. That is where someone has sent you a note of congratulations. It's a nice touch to send them a note back. And emails are nice, but a written note, let's just say that it really will set you apart. And I've very recently myself actually bought a fountain pen. See, a fountain pen, there's, that's what it looks like. See, one of those things. And because I wanted to do more writing, send notes of thanks to people and notes of encouragement and that sort of thing. And a fountain pen has a distinct look to it. It just sends a message of it's classical or classic, it's professional. It just shows, let's say it's a bit distinctive, and so those kind of things can set you apart. Okay, that's the end.